When hope calls the wrong number, the crystal spires of Stellaris Prime had stood for 10,000 years, their rainbow surfaces reflecting the gentle light of 3 suns. Elder Prisma moved through the great assembly hall, her translucent form pulsing with worried patterns of blue and silver. The bioluminescent veins that ran through her crystalline body flickered rapidly, betraying her anxiety to any luminary who might see her. But there were so few left to see anything now. "Elder," came a voice from behind her. Harmony, her youngest council member, approached with movements that seemed to dim the very air around her. "The outer colonies have gone silent. New Haven, Crystal Falls, even the mining stations in the asteroid belt. All of them." Prisma's light patterns shifted to deep purple, the color of morning. The Shadowclaw Empire had been methodical in their approach, taking each world one by one, stripping them of resources and eliminating every living luminary they found. Her people were peaceful by nature, evolved from creatures that had lived in harmony with their world's unique crystal formations. They had never developed weapons of war, had never needed to. Their technology was based on harmony and resonance, not destruction. "How long before they reach the homeworld?" Prisma asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Our calculations suggest 3 solar cycles, perhaps 4 if we're fortunate," Harmony replied, her light patterns now showing fear. "The evacuation ships can only carry a fraction of our population. Millions will be left behind." Prisma moved to the great communication array at the center of the hall. The crystalline structure hummed with energy, capable of sending messages across vast distances to other members of the Galactic Peace Federation. Surely the Federation would help. They had always been the guardians of peace, the protectors of species like the Luminari who chose harmony over conflict. "Prepare the emergency transmission," Prisma commanded. "Send it on all Federation frequencies. Tell them we face extinction. Tell them we have nowhere else to turn." As Harmony worked to encode the message, Prisma reflected on her people's long history. They had been among the first species to join the Galactic Peace Federation, contributing their knowledge of energy harmonics and crystal technology. They had helped terraforming efforts on dozens of worlds, had shared their art and music with countless species. They had never harmed another living being, and now they were being systematically murdered. The message was transmitted, shooting out into the void of space on frequencies that should have reached the Federation headquarters in the Andromeda sector. It carried the desperate plea of a dying civilization, complete with star charts, population data, and the horrifying details of what the Shadowclaw Empire was doing to her people. But space is vast, and sometimes signals take unexpected paths. Captain Marcus Chen was reviewing tactical reports in his quarters aboard the EDF battleship Terrace Fury when the alarm klaxons began blaring. The 45-year-old veteran of the Martian Rebellion grabbed his uniform jacket and ran for the bridge, his combat boots echoing through the corridors of the massive warship. "Report," he barked as he entered the command center. Lieutenant Jake Rodriguez, his communications officer, looked up from his station with wide eyes. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission on an unknown frequency. It's definitely not human in origin." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. First contact. After decades of sending signals into space, humanity had finally received an answer. But as he listened to the translated message, his excitement turned to horror. To any civilized species receiving this transmission, the alien voice said, somehow conveyed through their universal translator with a musical quality that spoke of profound sadness, "We are the Luminari of Stellaris Prime. We are a peaceful people who have never raised weapons against another species. The Shadow Empire has declared our extinction. They have already destroyed our outer colonies and are advancing on our homeworld. We have 4 billion souls who will die if no one comes to help us. We ask not for weapons or soldiers, but for ships to carry our people to safety. We will go anywhere, do anything, if you will just help us survive. The bridge fell silent. Marcus stared at the main screen where the signal's origin point was displayed. It was far from Earth, but not impossibly so. With their newest faster-than-light drives, they could reach it in days rather than months. "Sir," Rodriguez said quietly, "there's more. They're broadcasting visual data." The screen filled with images that made Marcus's blood run cold. Beautiful. Crystal cities reduced to rubble. Beings of living light being gunned down in streets that sparkled like diamonds. Ships full of refugees being destroyed before they could escape their own atmosphere. "Get me Admiral Stone," Marcus ordered. Within minutes, Admiral Rebecca Stone's stern face appeared on the communication screen. Behind her, Marcus could see the bustling command center of Lunar Base, Earth's primary military installation. The Admiral was a woman who had never backed down from a fight, and Marcus could see the same anger in her eyes that he felt in his chest. "I've been monitoring your transmission, Marcus," she said without preamble. "This is first contact, and it's happening in the worst possible way." "Ma'am, we can't just let this happen," Marcus replied. "These people are being slaughtered." "I know. I've already spoken with the Earth Council. We're mobilizing the Third Fleet. You'll have operational command." Marcus felt a surge of pride mixed with apprehension. The Third Fleet was humanity's most advanced battle group, 15 warships equipped with the latest in human military technology. They had been built to defend Earth from potential alien threats, not to intervene in galactic conflicts they didn't understand. "What's our mission?" Profile Marcus asked. "Humanitarian intervention," Admiral Stone replied. "Get there, assess the situation, and do whatever is necessary to protect innocent lives. The Council has authorized lethal force if required." Dr. Sarah Kim was in her laboratory analyzing the alien biological data when she received the summons to join the fleet. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had spent years theorizing about what alien life might look like. The Luminary data was fascinating. They were silicon-based life forms that had evolved to process energy directly from their crystalline environment. "They're incredibly fragile," she reported to Marcus as the fleet prepared to depart. "Low bone density, if you can call it that. Their bodies are adapted for their world's low gravity and gentle environment. They've never evolved for conflict." "What about these, Shadowclaw?" Marcus asked. Sarah's expression darkened. "Carbon-based, heavily armored, natural exoskeleton. They're built for war. Their entire species seems to be militaristic. They've conquered dozens of worlds, according to the data we've intercepted. And the Galactic Peace Federation." "That's the interesting part," Sarah said, pulling up her analysis. "From what we can determine, they're primarily a diplomatic organization. They seem to handle conflicts through economic sanctions and negotiation. There's no evidence of a military force." Marcus nodded grimly. No wonder the Luminari were facing extinction. They had called for help from an organization that fought with words while their enemies fought with weapons. The fleet departed Earth's orbit 18 hours after receiving the Luminari distress call. As they entered hyperspace, Marcus stood on the bridge of Terra's Fury, watching the stars stretch into lines of light. Behind him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. What none of them knew was that their departure had already triggered alarms across the galaxy. Deep in the archives of the galactic peace, Federation Earth had been classified as Species 2847X, Forbidden World. The classification file, marked with the highest security warnings, contained a single, chilling assessment: Deathworld species, evolved under extreme conditions, exhibits pack-hunting behavior, tool use, and adaptive problem-solving under stress. Psychological profile indicates extreme territorial aggression and protective instincts. Physical capabilities far exceed galactic norms. Recommendation: maintain quarantine protocols. Under no circumstances should this species be contacted or allowed to develop interstellar travel. If containment fails, notify Council Military Command immediately. But the message had gone to the wrong place, and now the galaxy's most feared species was racing toward their first contact with an enemy that had never faced anything like them. General Vex stood on the command deck of the Shadowclaw dreadnought, Bone Crusher, watching the final preparations for the assault on Stellaris Prime. The reptilian commander was massive even by Shadowclaw standards, standing nearly 3 meters tall with scales that had been scarred by countless battles. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he watched his fleet position itself around the Luminary homeworld. "Status report," he growled to his tactical officer. "All ships in position, General. The planetary defenses are minimal mostly. Civilian shields and communication arrays. We estimate complete pacification within 2 standard days." Vex's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. Begin the bombardment. Target the major cities. First, let the survivors watch their civilization burn before we finish them." The Shadowclaw fleet opened fire, sending streams of plasma and kinetic rounds toward the crystal cities below. The beautiful spires that had stood for millennia began to crumble, their musical resonance turning to screams of tortured metal and shattered stone. On the planet's surface, Elder Prisma watched the destruction from the emergency bunker beneath the capital city. The walls shook with each impact, and she could feel the deaths of her people like physical blows. Her light patterns had gone almost completely dark, showing the depth of her despair. "Any response to our message?" she asked Harmony. "Nothing. From the Federation, but..." Harmony paused, checking her instruments. "There's something else. We're detecting unknown energy signatures approaching the system, multiple vessels, but not of any design in our databases." Prisma's patterns brightened slightly with hope. "Reinforcements from the Federation?" "I don't think so, Elder. These SHIPS, they're not using standard galactic propulsion, and they're approaching fast." Above them, the slaughter continued, but help was coming, though not from the source they expected. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes, when you call for help, the universe sends exactly what you need, even if it's not what you asked for. Asterisk when monsters come to save. Angels, the human fleet, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Stellaris system, and Captain Marcus Chen immediately felt his blood pressure spike. The tactical display showed a scene of systematic destruction that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Shadowclaw ships surrounded the crystal world like vultures, methodically bombing civilian targets while smaller vessels hunted down fleeing refugee ships. "Jesus Christ," Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered from his station. "They're targeting evacuation." Ships. Marcus watched in horror as a Shadowclaw destroyer fired on what was clearly a civilian transport. The ship's crystal hull shattered like glass, spilling its contents into the void. Each piece that tumbled through space had been a living being, a luminary who had done nothing but exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. All ships, battle stations, Marcus commanded, communications tried to raise the Shadowclaw fleet. Standard diplomatic protocols. Dr. Sarah Kim joined Marcus at the tactical station, her face pale as she studied the incoming data. Marcus, I'm reading massive energy discharges from the planet. They're not just conquering it, they're sterilizing it. Sir Rodriguez called out, I have the Shadowclaw fleet commander on the line. The main screen flickered, and Marcus found himself looking at something that belonged in humanity's darkest nightmares. General Vex was a monster in the truest sense, a creature built for killing, with intelligence that made him all the more terrifying. His yellow eyes fixed on Marcus with predatory interest. I am General Vex of the Shadowclaw Empire, the alien growled in accented but clear English. You will identify your species and explain your presence, or be destroyed as trespassers. Marcus kept his voice steady despite the rage building in his chest. I am Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We received a distress call from the Luminari. We're requesting immediate cessation of hostilities and permission to evacuate civilians. Vex's laugh was like breaking glass. Distress call. There are no distress calls. There are only the strong and the weak, the quick and the dead. Your vessels are small and few. Depart now or join the Crystal Singers in extinction. I'm afraid we can't do that, Marcus replied. We're here to protect innocent lives. Vex leaned forward, his scarred face filling the screen. Innocent. Nothing is innocent. Everything exists to be conquered or to conquer. Your species understands this, yes. Or are you as weak as the Light Singers? Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. You have 30 seconds to cease fire on civilian targets. If you don't comply, we will consider it an act of war. War, Vex roared with laughter. You pathetic creatures know nothing of war. Let me educate you. The communication cut off, and immediately the Shadowclaw flagship opened fire on Terra's Fury. The energy beams struck the human ship's shields, causing it to shudder but not break. In the Shadowclaw command center, Vex expected to see the human vessel explode or flee. Instead, he watched in growing confusion as the ship absorbed the hit and returned fire. Terra's Fury's main railguns fired, sending streams of accelerated metal toward the Shadowclaw dreadnought. The impacts shook Vex's ship like a toy, and his tactical officer looked up in shock. Sir, their weapons are kinetic-based, but incredibly powerful. Our shields are down to 60%. Impossible, Vex snarled. Increase firepower. Bring all ships to bear. But the humans were already moving. The 15 ships of the Third Fleet spread out in a formation that confused the Shadowclaw. Commanders, instead of the predictable group tactics used by every other species they had encountered, each human ship seemed to be making independent decisions while somehow maintaining perfect coordination with the fleet. Commander Lisa Park watched from the bridge of the destroyer Nighthawk as human fighters launched from the carrier, Freedom's Wing. The small craft moved through space like a school of predatory fish, each pilot making split-second decisions that somehow contributed to a larger tactical picture. This is Eagle Leader, came the voice of Squadron Leader Tom Anderson. We have multiple targets. Engaging now. The Shadowclaw pilots had dominated space combat for decades through brute force and superior numbers. They had never faced anything like human fighter tactics. Where other species flew in predictable patterns, the humans seemed to dance through space, each pilot adapting to threats in real time while maintaining unit cohesion. "Sir," reported Vex's tactical officer, "we're losing fighters faster than we can deploy them. These humans fight like they're possessed." Vex watched the battle display with growing unease. The humans were not fighting like any species he had encountered. They were aggressive, yes, but it was controlled aggression backed by tactical brilliance that seemed to anticipate his every move. On the planet's surface, Elder Prisma felt the change in the battle's rhythm. The Shadow Claw bombardment had lessened, and she could sense something new in the energy patterns surrounding her world. "Harmony, what's happening up there?" "The unknown ships are engaging the Shadow Claw fleet," Harmony reported, her light patterns showing amazement. "Elder, they're winning." Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos led the first wave of human Marines toward the planet's surface. Her assault shuttles had to fight their way through Shadowclaw defensive fire. But the human pilots were skilled and determined. As they descended toward the largest luminary city, Santos could see the devastation below. "Listen up, Marines," she said over the com. "We have civilians down there who need protection. Rules of engagement are simple. Anyone threatening civilians is a target. Anyone preventing civilian evacuation is a target. We're here to save lives, not take them. But if someone wants to stand in our way..." "Understood, Colonel," came the response from 50 Marines. The shuttles landed in what had once been the city's central plaza. Santos was amazed by what she saw. The luminary architecture was unlike anything on Earth, with buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like living crystals. But the beauty was marred by destruction. Shadowclaw soldiers were moving through the city, hunting down any luminary they could find. Santos watched in horror as a squad of Shadowclaw troops cornered a group of luminary civilians near what looked like a school. The aliens were so large they had to crouch to fit through the doorways, and their weapons were designed for extermination rather than capture. "Bravo team, with me," Santos ordered, leading her squad toward the Shadowclaw position. The Shadowclaw soldiers were expecting to face terrified civilians. Instead, they found themselves under attack by human Marines who moved with deadly efficiency. The fight was over in seconds, but not before Santos saw something that would haunt her dreams. In the center of the group of luminari was a small figure no larger than a human child. Her crystalline body pulsed with weak, frightened patterns of light. When she saw Santos, her patterns shifted to something that seemed like hope. "Thank you," the young luminary said in perfect English. "Thank you for coming to help us." Santos felt something twist in her chest. These people were so innocent, so peaceful, and someone had tried to wipe them out simply because they could. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "I am called Melody," the young luminary replied. "Are you here to save us?" "That's exactly why we're here," Santos said gently. "You're going to be safe now." Back in space, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. The Shadowclaw fleet, designed to intimidate weaker species into submission, was being systematically destroyed by human forces that refused to be intimidated. Vex realized with growing horror that he was losing. "General," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost half our fleet. These humans... They're not like the other species. They adapt to our tactics in real time." Vex stared at the tactical display, watching his ships being picked off one by one. "What are they?" "Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures that don't match any known species in our database. Their weapons are primitive but incredibly effective. And their tactics... What about their tactics? They fight like they evolved for war, sir, like they were born to it. Vex felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest: fear. All ships,